In this video, we're going to learn how we can solve an inequality for a variable. Now, this is going to be a little bit more complicated than we did in the previous inequality video. I'll put a little card up to it if you want to watch. But we'll go through it. We'll explain the new parts as we go through. It should be pretty good. Evidence-wise, you're going to use the properties of equality to isolate a variable. You're also going to use the order of operations and combine like terms. You're going to understand what an inequality represents. Basically, remember, it's this number is greater than or less than this number, meaning the variable could be an infinite number of answers. And finally, this is the really new part. Learn what happens when you divide a negative number in an inequality. That part's going to be a little bit tricky, but we'll go through it. So, learning experience, we actually just have one example, so it should be a fairly short video this time. Let's move straight into it. In our only example today, we have the inequality 9x minus 7i is greater than 3 times the quantity 3x minus 7u. Our goal is going to be to get I by itself. Everything else is going to be on the other side of the inequality. So we just want to get this thing by itself. So first thing that we can do, we see that we have some parentheses, so we can use the distributive property to help us simplify this a bit. We're going to rewrite everything else exactly the same as it was. So 9x minus 7i is greater than, but this time we have 3 times 3x. 3 times 3 is 9, the x just stays the same. 3 times 7 is 21, and since we had a minus sign, we'll keep it minus. And the u just stays u. So the next step, we notice, perhaps, that we have this 9x on both sides of the equation. So why not get rid of it? To do that, if we think of this being as like a plus 9x, we can use our properties of equality and our inverse relationships to subtract 9x from both sides. If we do so, 9x minus 9x is just 0. 9x minus 9x over here is also 0. And we're left with negative 7 I is greater than negative 21 u. Now, we don't really need the zeros in here, so let's get rid of those. And now we're left with 7i is greater than negative 21u. We still want to get the I by itself. The only thing on the same side as I right now is the negative 7, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 7. Remember, properties of inequality mean that we have to do the same thing to both sides. So we're going to do so. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The division works as you would expect. 7 divided by 7 is just 1, so we're just left with the 1i. 21 divided by 7 is going to be 3, so we're left with 3u. And since we have a negative on both of these, the negatives are also going to go away. They essentially make a giant 1. The last tricky thing is that when you divide an inequality by a negative value, you actually have to switch the direction of your inequality. So this goes from being a greater than to a less than. And that means at the end, we of course get I is less than 3u. So, hopefully you enjoyed that problem. If you know anybody mathematical or nerdy, or somebody who you think would appreciate this, feel free to send it to them. It's a nice Valentine's Day surprise when they get to the end. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, all that stuff that I never say during a normal video. And yeah, have fun. Happy Valentine's Day.